You're watching Everydays and Saturdays, USNC veteran. Let's go, baby. And here's your host, Bryan. And what's going on, friends and family? Thank you guys so much for joining us on another great episode of Coffee Talk with Bryan and Marie. How you doing, Marie?
Hey guys, I am exhausted, but doing okay. Yesterday we had a real long, wonderful, interview over at Cash Coffee. If you get a chance, go take a listen. Recorded for a few hours and got us a 2 hour show, so it should be really fun. But it was awesome to be able to be there in person, a long drive, and then I had to drive a couple hours south. So, it was fun. So I'm exhausted, but I'm excited and I'm so excited to be here today. What about you? How you doing?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun yesterday. There was a lot of firsts for the show. First and foremost, that was the longest show we had, 2 hours. Second of all, we had the most guests on at one time.
Hmm.
So we had let me try to get names right. Audrey or Aubrey was the first one.
Brie,
Oh, yeah, I
I
know I'm not.
Audrey,
Why
my
am I
memory.
asking you? Um,
Yeah, my
uh,
memory's not as good as
yeah,
yours.
we had Alexa, Patrick, Mindy, and Jamie.
Yep.
So we had 5 guests on at different times. They got to talk a lot about Cash Coffee and all the great things that Cash Coffee does. So once again, if you guys would like to go check out some of their coffee, it's always in the link of the description of the show. And that reminds me, let's go ahead and brew up some coffee from Cash Coffee. Then we'll go ahead and get into it. Yeah. And once again, if you haven't had the chance, go back and listen to the episode before this one and go listen to the Cash Coffee interview. Go take a look at it is like a museum there. I mean, they are literally got things from wars of, off in other countries. They got stuff from Iwo Jima. You name it, they have dirt, they have flags, they have all kinds of memorabilia. What amazing thing.
So I wanted to say after we got off from the show, I had the opportunity for them to show me even more. I'm gonna cry. I had the opportunity for them to show me even more memorabilia they had that is so powerful from veterans who have passed away, from veterans um, who have just come in and visited, from veterans who have been saved by their SAFE program and their mental health
Mhm.
advocacy that they do. They even had some bullets of those who didn't make it,
Mm.
you know
Um,
and it was so powerful, and they have all sorts of stuff. They've got flags from different, from, like you said, from Vietnam, and they've got flags that have been flown in different countries, and they've got unit patches. They even have my unit patch,
No
me and my
shit?
friend that's coming on today. Oh, it was
Oh
so
my
awesome.
gosh.
Yeah, it was such a beautiful experience.
So that's outstanding. Um, yeah, so I won't get too much more into that because we could talk a lot about Cash Coffee. Just go back and watch episode 30. It was a really good one, and they're just amazing folks over there. And glad to be have them as a sponsor of the show. Now, real quick, now this is pretty much this next week. We're gonna drop 2 more episodes. We'll finish off with Marie's story, and we'll land the plane on her story and get through that part, and then we'll drop our last interview on Veterans Day, and that's gonna be a wrap for season 3. And I just want to say thank you to everybody so much for the support. I was able to hit a goal of mine. over. I wanted to have at least 200 listeners on Spotify. I think I started off with like 120 at the beginning of the year or something. So 80 was kind of a number for me, and we went above and beyond that. So I just thank you guys so much for that. And it's been so awesome having Marie come on and be part of the show. And we are booked out for coffee talk for a while. So if you guys haven't been seeing as much episodes from Every Day is a Saturday, and that's a lot because we've been really busy with coffee talk, and that's not a problem whatsoever because as long as we're dropping an episode a week and getting veteran stories out there and healing and all that great stuff, that's the most important part of the mission of Every Day is a Saturday.
Well, and then I also wanted to bring up, where there is success, there is also opposition. And so, just so you guys know, recently we had an incident where somebody was pretending to be
Mhm.
every day is a Saturday and
Thank
was
you for bringing
seeking
that up.
financial gain. So, please, 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 if you guys get a message from us and you think that it's fishy, reach out to me or Brian individually and ask us personally. Look up our names on Facebook and you can just find us directly. Ask us personally. We will never ask you for money, ever. So
If we were to
please,
ever even ask for donations or any of the such, you would see it here on the video, and it would be us personally asking. It would not be through a message on Facebook, TikTok, or any of the social media platforms. We're not asking for any money. We're not asking for any donations at this current time. We just have a mission to heal and get these stories out there. We do have a mission coming up though, and that's to get Marie's books out to the masses. So if there's anything we're asking you to do is go buy one of her poems or one of her books that she's taken the time with her art, her poems, and you guys gotten to be blessed and hear a poem of hers every time we do the show, sometimes two.
mhm.
So that's what we're gonna go ahead and get going right now, and let you. Do you got yourself ready to go on this?
Yes, sir, I do.
All right, all right.
Eh,
Well, we'll give you the floor and let you start open it up.
Okay. And again, I just wanted to do a shout out. I just started a new Facebook community called Slider Babe, SLIDERBABE. You can just look it up on the Facebook group tab. And in that community, we are creatively healing out loud through community. So please come join us and come share how you are using creativity in your life to help you heal from trauma, addictions, or just regular everyday struggles, whatever that may be. Come and share with us what you are doing. And it could be out of the box, it could be, something crazy. Whatever it is that you're using to heal, please share it with us and share your stories. And we just want you to be there. And so I will again, I'll show you my book. I'm still waiting for the reprint, but more me than I used to be, a journey to freedom. And this is my poetry. And this is one of the ways that I heal out loud, as well as recovery advocacy, as well as podcasting. So I'm going to read you this poem. I'm not sure if I've done it on here before or not, but I'm excited about this one. I really like it. It's called The Power of Thoughts. Thoughts are more powerful than 1,000-pound weight. They can push and pull inside you, change your focus from love to hate. They can chain you down to the bed where you rest. They can definitely guilt you for not being good, better, best. They can contort the way all faces appear, especially the one looking back from the mirror. They can make you assume the world would be best if you could just stop breathing with the rest. They can make you see that darkness is better and there's no point at all to be a goal setter. Don't fret. The solution from all of this madness is just changing those thoughts from pain to gladness. You see, thoughts are more powerful than 1,000,000-pound weight. They can lift you up higher than this mortal state. They can open your eyes to a paradise of love filled with light as bright as the sun up above. They can fill your heart with the connection we share with nature, each other, all things, everywhere. They can contort the pain in everyone's faces to become a gratitude of having been to those places. They can remind us of old pains and fears so we can be supportive and help others shed tears. Again, thoughts are more powerful than anything you can imagine. They actually control the heaven or hell you're living in. So I ask you today to go into your mind alone or with help. Go deeply to find the motivation to change your thoughts point of view from pain, anger, sadness, or anything askew, and turn it towards hope, love, faith, and peace. And you will find in the end an eternal release. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you once again for another amazing poem. And also, you guys check out our website, sliderbabe.com. Um, it doesn't cost anything to go check these things out and give her a little support. Uh, you know, go look at her website, go click on some stuff, give her some algorithm help. And
And you can
also, if you
also,
would like to email her, boom,
yep,
Marie at sliderbabe.com.
sliderbabe.com is where you can also access all the episodes of Coffee Talk and Every Day's a Saturday, as well as sign up to be a guest if you're interested.
Heck yeah. And she's been working on a list of all the different support groups that we get here as we're going through our interviews. A lot of times, we'll have the guests name drop great organizations out there that are helping veterans. So we are. I'm not gonna say we are. She is developing a list and compiling it up, and she's been doing an amazing job with that. So hopefully, at some point in time, the plan is to push out a list, and hopefully she would like to do it by, I think, states and federal versus state and all those things. That way everybody kind of gets understanding what is out there for you or your friends, family, whoever may need it. But it's there's some going to be some great things I think you're going to see out of us out of 2026 for sure.
Thank you.
All right. So, do you want to go ahead and introduce our next guest? Then this is going to be a very near dear one to Marie. She served with our next guest, and yeah. So there's going to be a lot of some heartfelt conversation, I imagine. So I'm
Oh,
going to
I'm
go ahead and
already
let
I'm
you.
already crying right now.
Oh, yep,
You know,
yep. So if we do this, you know, everybody knows by now it's not a show without Marie. She drops her tears. She loves her emotions. She's great with it. She's not afraid to show it. I love it. But when we start off this early, it's going to be good. So,
yeah,
all
yeah.
right,
So,
Marie.
our next guest is Marcus Weaver, and Weave has been such a sweet support system for me since we got back from Iraq. I deployed with him. We went through a lot of emotional trauma when we were deployed. We had a lot of unit corruption that we had to deal with, and the only thing that we had, as battle buddies were each other. And we went through some really horrific things, even with some of our battle buddies that we thought we could trust, and we might end up getting into that. I'm not sure yet, but it was just we went through a lot of things, and over the years, we have stayed in contact with each other, and it is so super important, you guys. Reach out to your battle buddies, because me and we've been through some hell in our lives, and we've been able to support each other through it. And right before this was the first time I've seen Weave in 14 years, and it was just so beautiful. And I'm so excited to have him in here. He was an army medic with me. We were in the infantry striker brigade. He continues this mission of service through the VFW and community volunteering. He drives seniors to appointments and rolls the dice in war games and RPGs. Keeping bonds alive, and he believes in keeping service ongoing long after the uniform comes off. So we've come join us, dude. I'm excited to have you here.
Welcome, Marcus. Hey, man. Glad to have you on. It is a pleasure and excited to hear all about how life has been treating you, man. It definitely got to hear a lot of Marie in what she's gone through. So I imagine you guys have some similarities and some experiences in what you guys gone through. But thank you so much, man, for coming on.
Oh, thanks.
So we've tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your story, whatever you are comfortable with sharing. Your you could talk about a little bit of your service work, transition out, and kind of where your some of your struggles and how you've healed and where you're at now. We'll interrupt the crap out of you like we normally do.
I guess I'll do the reason why I joined. Back in '07 is when I first started. I had to lose like 60, 70 pounds. And over the course of after getting my GED, I got wavered. I lost all that weight because my friends were starting to do hardcore drugs. There was really not decent jobs out there. And I just wanted to improve myself. And I was going through a divorce as I was going in,
Mm,
but we've been separated for a number of years. So right when I was going in, um, I was broke as crap. I
I
was
can
broke as
only imagine.
broke as shit the whole time. So it was very depressing. But I tried to stay busy like I do now. So I mean, I was always tasked out. I always had to rake leaves or stay on staff duty or go out doing exercises with the uh, infantry. We were mostly female support battalions, so a lot of the male there was very few of us males, so I was out all the time. I didn't have barely have any weekends to myself to de-stress. So what I did was play World of Warcraft as much as I could, but kind of quit playing when I got out. And then we deployed and got back, and transition was okay. Here's the paperwork. All right, you're out. I got out. Couldn't find a job or a decent job for a number of years. So I moved up to Maine from Georgia. I was near Atlanta, and just slowly built myself back up. Started going to the VA. Started going to the Bangor Vet Center. They helped me out a whole bunch. Put in for disability. There was a number of things I didn't think that would matter, but it does. Like I have constant tinnitus. It's annoying. Both ears are different pitches. It's aggravating,
Mm.
and got sleep apnea. So number of host of issues with that. Uh, I quit drinking when I first got out of the military. So it was about 8 months after my deployment. I was back home. Quit drinking, quit smoking. I
So
picked up
while you were
smoking.
in, you drank. You were heavily drinking while you were in.
Oh my god, that was the only way to cope with anything.
Got
We've
you.
So
would you be interested in kind of telling a little bit about the stuff that you had to cope with regarding the deployment and afterwards?
um a lot of those things are a blur. I've actually pushed all that stuff like foggy memory. It's a lot it's really really foggy actually. I barely had any sleep. It got to the point where I think we got hit one time and my first sergeant was carrying me to the aid station in my shorts with no shirt on. So um yeah, I did break at least once, but it was very stressful. Yeah.
We had just to kind of give a visual of some of the stuff that we dealt with. We were getting mortared on a regular basis in
Mhm.
on our base, and there's a town right outside of base that was getting got blown up like massively. Like there was one day that there was three giant explosions and they were going after this doctor. Anyways, it was horrific, and we were getting mortared. We even had like stray 50 cals that were coming into base, and then me and we were the unit medics for some of the other units going off base. So we would be in their truck and be their one medic, when they went out on missions and stuff like that. So you have all of this stuff, we're dealing with death, we're dealing with blood, we're dealing with being mortared. And then you add on, we also had a whole lot of corruption going on in our unit from the highest, down to the lowest. There was so much going on. And it was very unsafe. Some of like I touched base before, how the higher ups told these guys to turn around on a bridge and they went over, and the driver and the gunner were killed on impact, and everybody else in the truck were injured. We had all sorts of stuff that just were it was just shady. And then we also had, down to the lowest level, we had a friend of ours who ended up getting accused, not accused, but he got arrested for killing his baby in a very horrid way.
Mm.
And
Before he even got in, he didn't even get flagged. He was supposed to be on the registry. Yeah. So
yeah, and
that
he did
maybe,
not. And
yeah.
so he was a battle buddy that was with us. And so that caused a lot of emotional trauma because he was a really good friend of Weaver's.
He was my assigned battle buddy throughout like the barracks and and then deployment. And I lost a lot of trust from the
Did he
military.
did he just lose? Like, was this after deployment when he came home? This happened, or
No,
so he
he
never
ended
No,
up,
made it to
this
deployment? Did he snap or something? Like,
so 10 years before he even joined, he did some things to some kids,
oh,
but his own kid, he lodged something in in the baby's throat. Baby died. I'm trying to keep it as
yeah,
PG
sure,
as, yeah.
sure.
And so I think he got caught up with the accusations and was supposed to register, and then went to Oregon and then joined, went active, and then eventually came to the unit. So it was a number of years they could have like,
Wow. So
yeah,
he was in for how long before this all got caught up?
yeah,
a
yeah.
couple
Mhm,
years. Yeah. And so
Jeez.
so what happened was he started being investigated while we were deployed, and when we got back, they allowed him to go home to his new infant son, and during the investigation. And so then he was finally accused, and was arrested, and that's when he came forward and finally admitted everything, and he's been in jail ever since. He's on
yeah.
he's on like consecutive life sentences.
Oh gosh. Yeah, he's gonna die there then, huh? Good.
Yeah, but this was a really good friend, of both of us. He was our battle buddy. He was someone that we thought we could trust. So in Iraq, we're not, and this is why I'm so grateful that Weave and I have stayed in contact, because this has been hard to handle alone, and so having somebody else to talk to, right? We not only had the enemy coming after us, and we were dealing with that, but we also had our own people that were enemies. So it was really hard. And We've actually remembers some of the things that I don't even remember. He had to remind me where the burn pit was, because I thought the burn pit was like way far away from our
Right. It was right
base.
behind us. Right
Yeah,
behind us.
it was literally right behind us, and I don't remember that because I was dissociating. And
Mhm.
so we need each other to be able to like fill in the gaps.
Yeah, that's for sure a fact. Is one of my best friends I served with, and we've done pretty much everything together. We deployed together. We ended up in the same two different units together. And then we're both Southern California dudes, and we actually live like, I think like an hour and a half away from each other. And
Mhm.
he literally works at Edwards Air Force Base, which is up the road from me. So he always comes and hangs out. He'll be talking about stories, and I'll be like, wow, bro, I remember that, but I totally just put that one away, and I guess threw it out, because there's so many things I think that when you go through, and there's a lot of trauma bonding, right?
Mhm.
And like you said, a lot of it is we kind of like throw it back there, forget about it, and then when we start hanging out with others that experience same things, all of a sudden they they blow the dust off all that, and you're like, oh, I do remember that now. You know what I
Well,
mean?
and
And it's kind of weird how all those things start to come together. And I think that unfortunately too, that this is probably why some veterans don't stay in contact with each other. is because they don't want the cobwebs or to brush off anything. You know what I mean? And I think some people just want to forget.
Well, and this is where, I've talked about this before on here, but for the listeners who don't know, there is a difference between dissociation and disassociation. And so what Weave is talking about when things are fuzzy, right? We're talking about dissociation. When I don't remember, where the fire pit or the burn pit was. That's dissociation. My brain has escaped from me. Basically, my brain makes a decision, I don't want to think about this, and so my brain loses that memory, or in that moment my brain is not here even though I'm physically here. So those are examples of dissociation. And so then when we've talked about the idea of he was drinking to forget, that is disassociation. I am choosing to put my mind somewhere else. I am choosing to go into some sort of coping strategy, whether it's drinking, drugging, sex, whatever that may be. I am disassociating. And so I think it's awesome. We thank you for kind of like sharing, some of the experiences that you have with both, you know. And so I just think that people need to know that there is a difference, but both of them. So in recovery, the way that we fight dissociation, and avoiding traumas is we choose healthy disassociation. I am uncomfortable right now. I'm going to go to a meeting. I'm going to do some self-care. I'm going to talk to a therapist. I'm going to reach out for help. Whatever that is, I am pulling myself out of the situation instead of getting lost in the emotions. And so like I said, I just wanted to kind of touch base on the differences there real quick. But can you talk a little bit more about, I know that the deployment was a blur, and we dealt with a whole lot of stuff, and that kind of stuff is heavy. Can you talk a little bit more about what your transition was like when you got out? Did you have support? Were you doing it on your own? You talked about alcohol, kind of what was your experience when you transitioned out?
And not only that, dude, when did you move from Georgia to Maine? Was that right after you got out too? Because now you're having to navigate being in a whole other state as well, right? And like, how do I do the VA and how do I do everything here? You're new to Maine, right? I mean, so yeah, go ahead and walk us through all that.
2011, let's see,
So the
I got
deployment was
out.
9 to 10. And so
Yeah.
2011 was after. Yeah.
hmm Yeah, about 6, 7 months, and I was getting out. I Yeah, I got out, got unemployment. My car, the car that Joseph that I bought off of was crapping out, and I was trying to do what do you call it, pizza delivery because that's all I could find. And
Are you talking about you bought it from Allsop?
mm-hmm,
Yeah. So that's the name of the guy that's in jail. Yeah.
Oh,
Joseph
oh
also.
shit.
And
Okay.
thank God. Well, I bought it from his when he got arrested. I bought it from the one that he got a kid from, and
And a moment
so
of
I.
silence for her because she has passed away as well.
Mm.
Mm,
She was a really good woman.
very good.
Thanks. So you bought the car from her.
Yep. And drove it till after I got out. 6 months later, it crapped the bed. So I didn't have a car. I was out of a job for a couple of months. I ended up living with um, in a house my ex-wife and
How's your
her
mental
dad.
health at this point in time already? Is it already not good? Where you at
No.
mental health wise?
Um, Now I'm doing good, but back then
No,
I
I
was in a
mean,
bad.
right, yeah, right there when you started going through all this, dude. I mean, imagine you were already, the separation itself already puts a little bit of some strength on you. Now you're dealing with all this other shit that you didn't really have to deal with, job stability, being around others that, don't understand you, those kind of things.
Yeah. my wife has helped me persevere over all the things that I had trouble with, like vouching for myself. Um, so I finally got the VA help and stuff up here, thanks to my wife. I would have been like, oh, well, your knee hurts. Oh, that's tendonitis. No, it was actually a meniscus tear. So
Damn.
yeah, the VA sucks. So she spoke up, helped me out a whole bunch. But going back to 2011, I got out, got unemployment, that crapped out, and I got the pizza delivery that I went to, not working for a couple of months, living in my ex father-in-law's house. It had no water, and intermittently it didn't have power. They couldn't afford to fix anything. I couldn't afford to fix anything. I was beating myself up because I couldn't find a decent job. And I did that for a number of years while still trying to have a crappy car, try to see my son as much as I could, getting picked to work all these odd shifts just to make it and not really help with rent. So I during that time was a really dark place. I did quit drinking and smoking, but I chose to try to give up dozens of times through many different ways. I just felt like I wasn't worth it. Um, and then I tried to go to the VA. They had me out in the waiting room, two different appointments. The person was not there. The people were so mean. Um, so I was like, you know what? I'm gonna move as soon as my son gets old enough. And he graduated, but before that, a year before, I was up in Maine from Georgia, and met my wife. My son came up, lived with us for a little bit in a little apartment. Then he moved out a couple years later. We had a bad um, thing about that. He had a girlfriend who a lot of us were going through a whole bunch of stuff. So, but in between that time, I went to Togus. Uh, I tried to give up, and then I got
What is
the.
togus?
It's actually the original VA up in Maine.
Okay.
It's yeah, it's World War or Civil War. One of the wars. It's really old. It was going
So
to be a vacation.
how long had you been there in Maine at this point in time before you decided, like, all right, I want to, you're seeking out the VA?
It took about a year, the first winter, and then my wife helped me get back and forth. I had a Chevy Cobalt that was about to crap out, and then now I've got, with the help with the VA and the service connection I have, I realized that it does help a whole bunch to have those resources. I'm way different. I think different, with therapy and everything. It really does help. In service, they kind of fail to give you the emotional processing power for all the things that we do. They just kind of put that to the wayside. Yeah, you can be tough all you want, but your mind's going to break, and you need some way to handle it. So, got my life in perspective now.
I love how you
So
put
we've
that.
what kind of therapy did you have you tried? Do you have
Um,
good?
just a regular therapist at the vet center. I'm going to try to do. I think it's either cognitive or something with sound. I'm going to work on this year. It's just taken a bit. I tried to start that several years ago, and my son was living with me. And the first day, it opened up so much emotions that I just started yelling at my son. And then I went into went to Togus. My wife drove me there. It was during COVID, so she couldn't see me, but that helped out a whole bunch. That I'm good
So the
with. I'm
vet
good with.
center is I heard you mention the vet center.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
say, can you explain what that is for people who
yeah.
don't know?
All right, so I think it was like in Vietnam. There used to be nobody. There's nobody to talk to, so they're kind of like they vets started veterans started this organization, Vet Center, that helps with therapy and getting the things you need. And
So this is done by veterans, right? This is
yeah,
a organization started by veterans. Okay.
But
yeah,
there are some non-veterans that work there.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So usually, most likely, you'll have a therapist that's really somebody who's been in. And my first one for a couple of years was somebody who's had about the same experiences. So same kind of background. It really helped. So it helped me open up a lot more and
Mm.
not blame
So
myself for things.
I was just going to say the vet center for people who don't know as well, it's connected to the VA, but the VA can't
Hmm.
access their records. They can
Hmm.
access the VA records, but the VA can't access their records. And it's
Hmm.
specifically designed for combat veterans. So, there are other resources for non-combat veterans, but this one is specifically for combat veterans. And it's
Mm,
in
okay.
most large cities and it is available
Yes.
for a lot. We've did you take advantage of any of the group therapies that they have, or the occupational help that they give? Because they'll help people find jobs as well.
They started a guitar for vets up here, and I tried to
Oh
do it
yeah.
for a little bit, but my schedule was interfering with it. But I was one of the first ones that got to experience it, and it puts people together Mondays and Tuesdays to, play guitar, hang out. There's, I think, poker and other games they have there. There's going to be a brunch on the week of the 11th, Veterans Day. It's uh, it's good to see. I mean, even it, I'm, I guess I'm really, really young compared to like a lot of other vets up here. So it's a quite a wide age gap, and that's
Yeah,
kind
I
of
think a
daunting.
lot of it is though is the younger generation kind of shies away from coming out, right?
Mhm.
And that's why it's kind of weird how it all works. Like when you're in, you a lot of at least in the Marine Corps, that's kind of how it was. When you're in, you almost disassociate yourself from being a Marine. Like you go out in town, you try to act like you try to not look like a Marine as much as you can. Then I swear to God, like 5 years after getting out or so, all of a sudden you start getting like tattoos and wearing hats, and all of a sudden I'm way more moto than I was when I was in. Um, but I think a lot of that is, a lot of the younger veterans are not ready to come out, or I don't know. It's kind of weird because you don't see them in a lot of those like the VFWs and things of that nature. And a lot of people are talking about that because a lot of people are scared that the VFWs are just going to end up going to the wayside because the younger generations are not receiving it well or not participating in it.
So
Um,
we're gonna
real quick, guitars for vets. Real quick, I wanted to touch on them. Definitely know a lot about guitars for vets. I've dealt with people who do on there's there's a chapter that does it for you on the internet, and there's
Mhm.
also chapters that are actually local to some veterans. Now, it
Cool.
is a course they teach you to learn how to play a guitar, and at the end of when you graduate, you get a guitar from them, and a lot of times they continue to help you learn how to do stuff, and I know a lot of people who've benefited from that organization. So Guitars for Vets is a good one. If anybody's out there who wants to go learn how to play the guitar, uh, look them up and see if there's someone local to you. If not, I'm pretty sure they do still do it over on the web.
Mhm.
That's awesome. I was just gonna say, a little bit later in our story, we're gonna have We've touch base. He is a part of his local VFW as a youngin. So
Yeah,
we'll get to that in a
perfect.
minute because it's exciting what he's doing with them. But I completely agree. Most of the people that I've seen, in years past with the VFW are the older, but there are a lot of the younger generation that are starting to get involved, at least here in Utah, and it's kind of fun to
Are they
see.
like in their 40s?
Yeah,
Yeah,
30s,
see, I feel
30s and
like that's
40s.
when everybody starts coming out of the woodworks all of a sudden,
Yeah.
like in their late 30s, 40s, we're like, "Hey, man, what's up, guys?"
Yeah. But I wanted to ask, we as you were talking about the vet center, what did that mean to you? Because I know people who don't have disability, and they don't have their disability, and I will say this and I will die on a hill: go fight for your disability. If you were in the military, deployed or not, go fight for your disability. Okay.
It's there for
So
everybody.
because the military does hurt our bodies, So, but anyways, a lot of the people who don't have disability don't have access to the VA mental health, or a mental health therapist who understands the military aspect, right? And so they tend to kind of like shy away. So what does it, and by the way, the vet center is available for combat vets whether or not you have a disability, you know as long as your DD 214 says that you've been in combat, you can go in there. So even if you don't have disability, go in there. But what did that mean to you to have somebody who had that same experience as you?
Felt like I could open up a lot more. Um, at first, I didn't want to say too much because it's like it's not what I went through was nothing, and I still have a sense of that today. But it felt really good to have somebody who had the same background and sense of self and how they were shaped, about the same way. Somebody that's never been in the military just doesn't really understand the day to day things that we do because we've what we've done that whole time. So it felt pretty good.
Well, I think that's one of the important reasons why, like we're doing these podcasts is
Mhm.
because sometimes, we hear a lot of stuff out there of people who don't have the same experiences, and so we can't really relate to them. And so we're doing this podcast to encourage us to be able to reach out to each other, to be able to share our stories, to know that we're not alone, because sometimes when we get lost in our PTSD we feel alone. And so I think that that is the importance of being able to heal out loud and share your story, because that therapist, he had to start by sharing his story, and he had to heal out loud and then utilize it as a therapist. And so I think it's awesome that you had that opportunity.
Very grateful. Um, all I had to do was reach out. I mean, and then my wife understood it. I was dating her at the time, and I started doing all this stuff, and it's been a journey, but it was
I
worth
I
it.
I think that's something important to kind of bring out is the support from your wife,
Hmm.
because that's a big thing for a lot of veterans is they
Hmm.
come out and they don't have a great support network, and sometimes the people they start dating or the people that we end up with, they have no clue and don't give a shit what you really been through, right? And don't understand. So sometimes it's hard to find that person that's going to deal with, because there's going to be some lows, man. There's going to be some lows. They're going to have to, understand that we're going to bite bite the head off of people from time to time. Um, so that, I think it's important that we do make sure we say what a great job your wife has done too, right? And how instrumental she has been in the success of you being able to get through this shit, right? Because I always think it's important for us to give kudos to our loved ones, the
Oh
ones
yeah,
that endure the shit from us, but they're also there cheerleading us and wanting to see the best from us and be there for us and push us through it. Like, hey, and it's weird how sometimes it ends up going for full circle, like in my relationship, right? There's, where I went through some really hard times. My wife kind of helped me got through, and then she started going through her shit. And then I was more sound, and I was able to be that support network for her, right? And get us kind of both in that situation. And now we're both at a level of we catch things so much faster now that we've kind of had that time. So
yeah,
I just think it's great in that you talk about your wife a lot. I just want to make sure that everybody out there understands how important that aspect of this healing process is. Having others that are there to kind of support you through that healing process and be understanding of it, right? And not you have to be a little selfless at times too, because you might need to be a little bit on the selfish side because you gotta get yourself right.
yeah.
So
You got to open up, and we're not alone. You just got to find the right place, the right person to answer the phone, email, text, whatever, there's somebody out there somewhere in the world that will listen to you and get you started.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So we've along the way of you receiving this treatment, you've moved, a few different times, you've got your disability, you're starting this therapy, were you working at that time as well?
uh, uh, almost the whole time. Yeah, you talking about
So
right
what
now?
what were what kind of jobs did you have along the way?
So in Georgia, it was working in a kitchen as a dishwasher, and then a cook, pizza delivery driver. Tried construction for a little bit. My body's too effed up for that.
You found that
And
out real quick, kind of like,
yeah,
ooh.
so the minimum wage in Georgia at the time in 2011 till before COVID was like eight $8 an hour, and so uh, yeah, so
I
I
deal with like
wasn't very
$21 an hour here in California for minimum
I
wage. It's like, wow. Uh,
wasn't very financially stable, so yeah, didn't have a jumping off point, but I wasn't going to stay in.
so you
So
had to, you kind of just had to jump around from different jobs as well. And I imagine that along with everything else is another stressful thing that you have to go through because where we are very much instilled in our head we got to be the breadwinners, we got to support and be that financial stability for our family. So I imagine all that stuff's really running through your head, and that probably had a reason why you guys moved to Maine, maybe too, to kind of give yourself better opportunities. I don't know, or do you get yourself out of Georgia? Now, were you born and raised in Georgia your whole life? And
no, I was born in California,
oh, okay.
Navy brat.
Oh,
My son was
so you
born in
moved around a
Georgia.
little bit. Okay.
Mm. But yeah, I was in Georgia since I don't know, since I was like 7 or 8 years old till I joined the military.
So with the job bouncing around, I just wanted to highlight on this because I went through, something similar. You get out of the military and your body and your mind have been terrorized, and so then there's the issue with finding something that you can physically do, but also emotionally, being able to be around people and trying to figure out what job that you can do that's not going to trigger you or where you feel most comfortable. Like I went to school for a while and then I tried delivering phone books for a while. I tried, door-to-door salesman. I tried, working at a special needs facility. I tried working at a brew house and I couldn't keep a job for longer than a year or two,
Now, I
with
gotta
that.
imagine your guys' job as a medic, if you is that's a hard job to translate when you get out into the civilian world if you don't go into the medical field, right? I
Well,
mean,
there's a couple different layers with that. Like I know for myself, and I'd love to hear your experience, but like for myself with that, I already saw enough shit that I didn't want to continue
go
doing
into
that
that
in
field
the
at all,
civilian world.
right.
And then
Yeah.
also we are trained so much and we have the ability to do so much while we're in the military. But our specific certification translates to an ambulance driver in the civilian world. And so you can't do anything except for drive an ambulance and basic first aid in the civilian world. Even though, like, when we're in Iraq, we're doing all sorts of stuff. When we get out, we can't do that. So if we want to do medical, we have to go and get more degrees and more education. And so for me, it wasn't worth it. And I already saw enough. So I
Yeah,
don't know
because
what was
military
your
medical doesn't translate into
yes.
civilian medical, right? I mean,
Yes.
it's kinda you don't really the worlds don't really talk to each other. You're doing parallel work, but
Yes.
they don't simultaneously kinda talk to each other.
Well, it's all legal stuff. So
Right.
legally, the stuff that
Sure.
we're doing, when you're in military, you have so much more leeway. But in the civilian world, there's so much
Sure.
red tape that you can't cross over. Did
Right.
you did you experience that, Weave?
So my MTV expired a month after I got out. I called my unit to try to get hours, something they could do to help me. They weren't going to help me. The closest I could do was go to Alabama 6 months from then, at the moment I called to renew it. Uh, so I couldn't even pursue like a medical standpoint beyond that. So I tried to go to uh, college I guess a year after I got out, which I wasn't mentally prepared for that. I got I got PE. I got PE, physical education, or just that's what I got. I did no hours on like I can do a tourniquet, I can stick somebody, I could I give IVs, I could do all these different things, but no, they gave me PE, and I lasted about 6 weeks. I was like, I can't do this.
Now, if the army would have helped you and gave you those
Mhm.
hours, do you think that would have helped you a little bit more with your transition? Because this is
Yeah,
a prime example of,
yeah.
hey, man, you're no good to them no more.
Mm.
So we're not helping you out. Like, thank you for your service, but toodaloo. Now, if
Yep.
you would have just got a little bit of someone to help you sign up, like just a fucking signature or something for some hours, that could have helped you with your transition, right?
Yeah. Uh, I I would have been living in a house with like no power and water for a hot minute. Not being able to afford like new clothes.
Wow.
Just not taking care of myself. My son was living with his mom, but I was next door. We're trying the best we could in this economy. It's the
Sure.
hardest thing. But I felt like I
Absolutely.
was a failure. And I mean, it's not the military's fault. And they said, hey, when you get out, you're not going to do it. You're not going to be anything. You're going to work at Taco Cabana. I'm like, well, gee, thanks. The last day I left, like I went to go say goodbye. Nobody talked to me. It was just I walked out that door.
You do
I
get
was,
the
I was
cold shoulder when you're getting out. I think a lot of people are hating on the fact that you're actually
mm,
getting out, right? And then, oh, he's getting out. I mean, when you start checking out, dude, it is weird the transition that you become in that unit as you're checking out, right? I mean, I know I experienced it. I know others experienced it because once we start checking out, you're almost forgotten. You know what I mean? Like even in the formations and shit, they don't even care if you're there anymore. You're like, wow, that's weird. Like every other time I'd been UA or something.
yeah.
We've
So a week before I got out, they gave me a PT test, and they asked me if I wanted to stay in. I did exactly in the number of sit-ups, push-ups, and I timed my run to the second. I was so pissed off because they were going to flag me. That's all they cared about. Yeah. So
So I wanted to know if you would be willing, because you kind of like glazed over this a little bit, but getting out, you had a pretty difficult time because we go from getting this guaranteed paycheck, and if you don't get disability, you don't have a paycheck when you get out. And so, can you kind of just touch base again on that experience that you had when you got out without having that money and that living with no power and stuff like that? Can you touch on that a little bit more?
so not being able to find the resources that I needed, not having anybody answer the phone because of how brash I was and an asshole I was. Um, that was the hardest thing ever. I mean, I wasn't directed to a VA. I wasn't told to call. I mean, we didn't have 988, but they did have a suicide hotline for vets. I was on hold for 30 to 45 minutes. So, yeah. So whenever people on like Facebook would be like,
You had
call
so
this
many
veteran suicide
opportunities to pull a
hotline.
trigger or
Yeah.
do something at that point. That's just crazy to me.
Every time I saw the veterans hotline, I'm like, I waited 30, 45 minutes. They're not going to answer. It's like,
Mm.
I just felt like alone in like a sea of despair. And I wish somebody was there to pull me out. I have battle buddies who I could call, but my number was changing all the time. And throughout that whole time, I had friends, battle buddies that gave up in, in their own struggles. And that kind of partly keeps me going is they're not. And I don't want anybody else to give up. So,
So when you were living in this, I'm gonna cry. But when you were
mhm.
living in this like literal darkness, right? You didn't have power. You were feeling alone. You were feeling powerless. What was it that was able to pull you out and to I know you said being there when other people are not, but what was it? What was that trigger that you're like, I'm not giving up. This is not the end of me. What was that trigger that helped you pull out of that? And then also what resources were available for you when you made that decision? Hey, I'm going to keep going, and what kind of helped pull you out? What I know that you kind of like glossed over, I got out and then I moved, but what was that little transition that helped you get into that next level?
I think talking to people like you and my other ballad buddies significantly helped me want to keep going. And then I wanted to keep going. I wanted my son to see his dad act normal someday. And but halfway between 2011 and 18, I decided to follow a chef around, and I'm like, well, if I'm going to cook, I'm going to try to become a better cook. I'm going to try to be a chef. And so I realized right before I left that's just a dead end job. So I just worked another two jobs and saved up to move to Maine. And I was still in the same mind frame. I tried to go to the VA, but I was pretty much forgotten. Um, I didn't know what resources are out there. Uh, I guess the landscape has changed for veterans. There's a lot more things that are pushing into our face. It's a lot easier for people to hear something about, I should call this person. I should go over here and try this. Um, I mean, 2011 smartphones just came out, 2010. So it wasn't, I mean, it was kind of popular, but it's not like it is now. So I think that helped out a whole bunch with you, Marie, and Chong. I talk to almost every day except for the last couple of months.
Now,
Rhodey, I called all the time. Just a few others, and they.
Chong is one that we lost. She was my roommate in Iraq.
Mhm,
Wow, we this is a lot of emotions, but we lost her in 2020 to suicide.
mhm.
And she was one of the huge influencing factors for me to start doing this podcasting and reaching out and being there for the next person. I lost two people within a week in 2020, and Chong was one of them. And then 6 months later, another really good friend, you know um Rico Rivera, we lost him in 21. And so, but I'm so glad that Chong was able to help you through. And I know that she's still, watching over us from afar because she helped me out a lot too. So I'm glad that she was there for you in that moment.
She got me into Korean barbecue and taught me how to do use chopsticks.
Mm.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
That's awesome.
I miss her.
Me too.
Mhm.
She was such an amazing person. I still remember Slidey. That's what she would call me, and she would always be like, Slidey.
Mhm.
I think a lot of what I've learned here, and we've known this, but it's been really more apparent, I think, on this episode is how much we struggle when we get out because what we do in the military doesn't necessarily translate to civilian life.
Mhm.
So some MOSs are going to be a lot harder to go get a job on the outside world than others. You could be doing amazing things for your country,
Mhm.
but when you get out, your job doesn't translate. And some of the jobs, like the medics and stuff like that, they're you guys got to go through a whole nother schooling again, through the civilian world, if that's what you so desire. It's not something that you get out and can go right into a job. And that's the hard part is, a lot of us we're not making a lot of money in the military either. You know, you most people get out of, E3, E4, in your 4-year term. Um, and you're not making a lot of money and you get paid every other Friday. But when you go out, they want you to make even less than what you were making and try to make a living out of that and try to go live and everything else. It's really hard. And you're already at that age, you're around 22, 23. Some people are more in the middle, middle 20s, and now you're sitting here and they're like, well, you have no experience. What?
Well, and
You
then
mean I got no experience?
you have to start paying for your housing. You have to start
Oh
paying
shit,
for your
amazing. Yeah,
food. You
everything.
have to start paying for, if you don't have disability, you have to start paying for your medical insurance. Like all of those, they don't teach you that kind of stuff. They don't teach you how to budget for
Utilities?
those
What the
because
hell's
all of it is free.
utilities? You know?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that we're just not prepared for. They get us very codependent upon the military. And you get used to this life of you live in the barracks, you don't got to pay for the water or the electricity that's inside that barracks. They do provide, at least in the Marine Corps, 3 square meals a day for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You go if you go to the chow hall. You don't have to. You can go use your PFC pay and go eat at Subway or something, but damn, you know what I mean? You get paid bi-weekly, and that's why a lot of fools on that last week, all of a sudden, everybody's in the chow hall. You know what I mean? Because money ran out. But to go from having that ability, though, to have something always to fall back on, a person to your left, to your right, it's hard when you go out to the regular world because everybody else is already expecting you to be at the same pace as them too because you're just thrown out into this, but they don't realize you're not at the same pace as the people out in the civilian world. You've been removed, you've been trained, you've been taught to act a certain way. You had a formation. Tell you what, in the Marine Corps, if you ain't 15 minutes early, you're late. You know what I mean? Like they tell you that the formation's at 1600, you better be there at 1545. 1546, you'll be late. What? I'm here on before the you know what I mean? So we're used to very being told where to go. Hey, even like to the point like you got medical today. You know in the Marine Corps they kind of tell us you got an appointment you got to go to today. You got shooting range today. You got this. Once you get out, man, all that is gone and you're just like no direction, no understanding of where to go. I do think they are getting better at it now, but you know, I feel like there was a big point in time from probably I would say 2003 up into maybe even close to 2020.
Mhm.
There was a lot of opportunity of not being able to get these people transitioned out without any kind of proper training. And they expect everybody just to like go from I mean, damn near, dude. I went from damn near being out in the combat zone for 6 to 8 months
Mhm.
and then come home and it's freaking 4th of July. And I'm the booms and bangs I'm used to hearing are making me want to hit the deck and get out of my skin. I'm here in the hometown and no one told me I was gonna go experience none of this shit. And I'm like, what is going on with my body and like weird feelings and like I've never felt this way before, you know, and I didn't even know what it was. I had no clue what PTSD was for a long time because we've never got any kind of training. Now I
Mhm.
imagine that hopefully they're doing better for these guys and gals. And I should actually talk to my daughter's boyfriend who's in the Marine Corps and he's actually getting to get out here in December. So I'm hoping he's going to get the adequate amount of training. And I told him at least, hey, you'll have a veteran who's been through some shit to kind of coast you through your trials and tribulations that are going to come your way.
Mhm.
Because when you're in your 20s, dude, and you're trained and you have all this charisma and you're just kind of like prideful of yourself, arrogance, you carry yourself a certain way. The world doesn't receive that well, right? Like and they humble you freaking real quick. And I just hope that the military is starting to do better with these kind of things and helping these younger warriors train them to be warriors while they're in, but train them to be warriors on the outside as well. And that looks a little different, you know, and because we could be leaders, we could be the mortar that puts the things together versus part. Because when we go in and join, we don't go fight for the left or the right. We don't go fight for our cities or our states that we live in. our counties. We're there fighting for the country of the United States of America, for the people that live here and that want to enjoy the freedoms. And so, I think that someone's got to be able to do that job, because we need people out there to do it. But we also need them to be able to get out and go be badasses on the outside world and be the example. Be the example of hey, we know how to go and go accomplish a mission without worrying about what religion you are, where you're from, what you represent, whatever. We're all wearing the same camis and we all have one mission and we're going to get it done. So I just hope that we can do things like these podcasts. Hopefully there's more education for these younger guys and gals. So when they get out, they can go be the leaders of this world, not the ones going and hiding in their basements and all this shit. We got dudes that are Medal of Honor recipients or got big ass brass, and these dudes are just hiding in their basements because that's the way that they've been conditioned, and they don't feel safe around others, and they don't feel comfortable. We don't trust a lot of others as well. So, we got to keep talking about this kind of stuff, and we got to bring everybody out from the darkness, because we have some badass people in the military. We are the best in the world. There's not another military that really can compete with the United States of America. And why is that? Because of the people that join and represent this country have that in them. But it doesn't have to stop there. It doesn't have to stop there. It can continue to be on the same out when you get out.
I completely agree, Brian. Like I really do. I think that's exactly why we're doing this, and that's why we're bringing people to light so that we can try and make changes for the next generation. So we can try and implement like, hey, here's some things that we can help people get out better, so that the same mistakes are not made that we went through. And it's going to be a generational, things that we have gone through when we got out is even better than the Vietnam guys, who
Sure.
were hated when they got out. And so I'm hoping that the next generation will have better tools to utilize. And so kind of I wanted to talk a little bit about that. We've, kind of moving forward in your journey, right? So just the kind of a recap, just so that listeners, can be reminded. Before you got in the military, you were going through a divorce. So you had your own, traumas that were happening before. We get into the military, we dealt with a lot of the corruption and then a lot of the deployment struggles. You got out and you had a hard time, transitioning between PTSD and then just money issues and struggling with that. You moved a couple different places, you had multiple different jobs, and finally you got into a really amazing relationship with this woman who helped support you, and you got into the therapy that you needed through the vet center, and you started utilizing some of those tools, and you finally were able to get your disability. So kind of going through this journey, I want to now talk about how are you continuing moving forward in your healing? How are you being there and advocating for the next generation? I want to know, kind of like what your day-to-day stuff kind of looks like now. How did you get involved? You're working with the VFW. Tell us a little bit about that. I know that you're doing the chaplain work there. Kind of talk a little bit about that. Touch base on this driving seniors and also, this beautiful opportunity that you are about to have to start fostering this child. Kind of like talk to us about the healing part that is actually happening as you have overcome a lot of these trials.
So VFW, I am a chaplain, but we're like a small get together. So there's not much we can do right now. We are getting younger members in. We have about 3 or 4 young people in the last year or two. So hopefully it will expand a little bit better. It's just finding more veterans that have been deployed. That's the only issue. Um, but I've met with a couple of them here and there. We try to keep track of each other, say hi in public. Uh, but that has helped out exponentially. There's actually a veteran that's being coincidentally. I started talking to him about the same time. Next month he'll be in the VFW, so he's getting sworn in. So a lot of similarities, which is pretty awesome. The fostering, we just got licensed. Um, Actually, we just got it yesterday. We got the paper.
Congrats, bro.
Yay.
Wow.
I
You ready to
think.
start all over again, huh?
Well, depends on the age. So uh, me and my wife has some schedules got to be the main issue. Make sure that somebody's always here. But I
Sure.
think imparting enough knowledge that my generation wasn't given, try to give it to the next generation, probably will help out as much as possible. I think even with what my son had to go through with me, he learned a lot, and I was always honest with him. I tried to explain things. He had to experience it, but he understood. That helped. But having somebody in a system that everybody's gave up on you, um, I think would be a wonderful opportunity for me and my wife to give to somebody, even if it's temporary for a month. you know, Lasting memories. Some of my most good memories are 5 minute best friends in line somewhere, and then I end up gaming with them. So I commented on somebody's bag, uh, Dungeons and Dragons bag, and went to their group. And then after a couple Saturdays, where I'm working at now, they were hiring. Um, so we work with people with intellectual disabilities. Try to give them the fullest life they could possibly get in this environment. And I think I feel more fulfilled helping make decisions to coax somebody to advocate for themselves or advocate for them if they need it. And I feel so much better than just being a cook and working construction or working Walmart. Uh, Being part of a community is important as a veteran. It keeps me busy, um, but sometimes when I sit to think, I just think about all the good things I have now because I reached out, I opened myself up, and I just as long as I pass that message along, I'm happy.
So, with the VFW, what are some of the things that you guys do in there for people who don't know what the VFW is? Can you kind of touch base a little bit on that?
For us, we've uh, what do you call it? Scholarships uh, for schools to give a kid a scholarship,
That's outstanding.
generating money. Most of our money is generated from bingo, and then it helps. All that helps like local vets, and we do help other organizations. But there has been a couple of people that have been just in distress that we've helped out. It really does make a difference. Um, Sometimes stack wood, local community stuff. But yeah, I think I've stretched myself a little thin because I'm also doing giving seniors rides without as much as I can to their doctor's appointments or grocery shopping. The extra time I have off. Beyond that, I'm playing role playing games like Dungeons and Dragons. So
It's awesome, man.
trying to put myself out there.
Yeah, so you have a lot of different layers going on. Like
Hmm.
you are immersed in your local community in so many
Yes,
different
yes. A lot of
ways. Like
community
with
relations.
Yes, with the
Well,
the veteran community, with the VFW, you're driving the seniors, you are working at this facility. He actually works, it's a home for people with special needs, intellectual disabilities. You're doing that, and then you're connecting in the community with the role playing games. For those of you who don't know what Dungeons and Dragons is, look it up. It is fantastic. I play it myself, and it's just a role playing game that you
Mm-hmm.
just get together and create this world. It's a role world building role playing game, and just phenomenal. And then you are being willing to bring somebody into your home. So it sounds like you have taken so many so much struggle that you have been through, and you are passing along a message of healing and community and connection. And then I just wanted to touch base. 99% of the time it's Weave who calls me, because sometimes I get into my head so much, and I don't have the strength to reach out to people, right? And most of the time it's Weave that calls me, and he has kept me off of the ledge many times, just knowing that he cares so much about me. So I'm so grateful to see the work that you are doing, and to be a recipient of some of that service work and that kindness. And it's really been amazing to watch your journey as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, bro, you have a real amazing story, man. You definitely could have been a statistic if you wanted to. You could you could have fallen into the number. Um,
Well, I failed miserably many times, so I'm glad that wasn't the case. So,
exactly, and I think that's important to understand. We're
mhm,
gonna fail a lot when you get out of the military, and that's something
mhm,
hard to swallow because failure in the military, it could be death. It could be loss of life. It doesn't translate very well when we get out, right? And that was the same thing with my kids. Like, like if they didn't do something fast enough, and I'm just like, you could die if you didn't move fast enough. Like, wait a second, we're not in life and death situations here at home, So, um, you've done a great job, dude, in not allowing yourself to fall completely down. You know what I mean? You've gotten yourself, you've fallen down, you've brushed yourself off many of times, and here you are, man. You're at that level in your life where you want to advocate for others. You have become a public servant, bro. Like you're serving your community. You want to help foster and raise a child that not yours, and we as a parent of six in total, not all of them are mine, some are steps, but six kids, dude, it's a lot to take on, and to give that kid an opportunity or a life that they may not have, and just give them a safe haven for whatever amount of period of time. That's really honorable, bro. And there's a lot, and not only that, but you open your home to strangers. You have to have inspections. There's I'm
mhm,
sure there'll be you know counselors and things of that nature, because you never know what kind of kids you're going to be dealing with. But that's very honorable for you to continue to kind of want to serve your community in some form or fashion, in giving senior citizens rides to places, bro. Like, there's a lot of people that just kind of forget about that community of people, especially at our age,
mhm,
right? Even though all of us, that's going to be our future at some point in time, right? But we're not quite grasping that. So I want to commend you, bro. I want to commend you in your growth, in your journey. And I imagine, bro, you're not done. And growth is always continuing. And I imagine as you continue to heal yourself more, you're gonna end up probably taking on more and doing more. And so I'm all for you, brother, and I cheer you on, and I commend you for the amazing job you've done, and staying the course. And what something that really hit me that you said was you wanted to be a man to your son. You wanted to be like a role model for your son. You wanted your son to see the good dad. That couldn't have hit me even. That couldn't have hit me more hard, dude. Because that's where I was at one point in time, where I was like, I want my 2 older kids to see the good guy. There's a good guy there. You know what I mean? So, man, much love and respect for you, bro, for realizing all that and commending you for all the great job you've done.
So
Thank you.
there's two thoughts that just, kind of popped into my mind. One, you know, it's amazing to kind of see that as you are going through this stuff, you are still practicing what you preach. You're preaching, reach out for help, talk to somebody. And I know that this is kind of an emotional topic for you. I got permission to bring it up before, but Weave right now has a friend who is at end stage liver failure,
Mm.
and he is going through a lot of emotions with regards to that, and it's bringing up his own insecurities from his past alcohol use and stuff like that. And it's beautiful because instead of allowing himself to be lost in that pain and those insecurities, he has reached out for me, reached out to me to talk and to say, hey, I'm not okay. I am feeling this way. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help. And he's reached out to me, as a friend, and then also knowing that I do recovery advocacy. He's asked for resources for himself and for his friend, and it's beautiful to see him working out. And I don't know if there's anything that you want to touch base on that, but then also the secondary, and this is kind of a little bit different, but knowing both of your stories, you guys have some similar things that maybe one or both of you could touch base on. You both had children in a very rocky part of your life, and then you have either we've talking about doing foster care, and then Brian having a child that's a younger generation now. If you guys want to touch on, I think it'd be interesting, those fears, the insecurities, but also the hope of dealing with, okay, these children dealt with me in a hard part of my life. I have made changes. I'm trying to be there for them differently, but also be a different parent to the children now. So you guys are both have both touched on those insecurities of this is how I was for them. It wasn't fair to them. I'm trying to make amends now, but I'm also trying to be better for this future generation. So I don't know if you guys want to touch base on that. I think that would be important because there's a lot of people that are dealing with that in recovery from trauma and recovery from addictions. I'm not a parent myself, so I haven't gone through that, but I know that there's going to be a lot of parents on here watching this, and if one or both of you don't mind just kind of sharing your thoughts on that, I think that would be incredible.
Go ahead, Marcus. I'll let you go ahead, man.
Um, all right, can you repeat that? It's like,
You want me? I'll go. You want me to go ahead and
yeah,
start off first? Okay.
yeah.
Um, Something that was important to me becoming a dad was to not be like my dad, to be better than, to be a better father than my dad was to me. Now, I feel like I hit that mark and I was better to be like in some aspects with my kids, but the the hardest part about it, and a lot of it was I was such a hurt person,
Hmm.
and I had so much of emotional stuff and stuff that I've never dealt with. And so I never had really a good outlet to kind of let it out. So a lot of it was impulsive to my kids, in me losing my mind of a situation, not necessarily that my kids created, but something that happened to them or a situation they were in. I would just and just come out unglued. I was blind to how I was as a dad through it all. And it didn't really set into me until later on, and I had another little boy. And my kids were teenagers at this time. By the time I had my next, my next little dude, they're like 13, 14 years old. They're already, teenagers. And when there was an issue with my kids, and they got older, and I wanted to have more custody of them. Well, they didn't want that because I'm way more strict and had rules and things like that. So they didn't like that. So then they decided they didn't want to come over and see me no more. And then I'm dealing with their bashing and the talking bad about me on that side. So they're, constantly not, it just, the relationship was really strained. And for me, the best way of dealing with it was not dealing with it, because dealing with it was too hard. There was so many emotions, layers of emotions that I'd had to deal with in between there that I couldn't even touch on, so, you know, with my first two, unfortunately, I was blind all the way through until, like I said, I had my other one, my little dude, and then watching him grow and going through things. And then I was able to start talking to my kids about stuff, because now that I'm raising another one, I'm seeing myself different. I'm seeing him different. And so now I'm going back, and instead of me just walking through life, I go back and I talk to my kids and I say, I fucked up. I messed up with you guys. And I am so sorry that I wasn't the dad that I wanted to be, because I wasn't the dad that I envisioned myself always being. And I don't want to use excuses, but I just wasn't. At the end of the day, I was a shitty dad to my two older kids. I wasn't like leaving them with other people and stuff. I just wasn't a good dad. I wasn't the emotional. I wasn't explaining myself to them. I was just like, this is how it is. Just do it. I just was very different. As where with my little dude now, it's way more hands on, talking to him, letting him have his emotions, letting him cry when he wants to cry. Not like, hey, stop crying. What are you crying about? You know what I mean? No, we'll work through this. We'll kind of, because I wasn't mentally right when I was raising these two kids. I didn't even know about mental health that well either. But now I'm way more educated with it. So I will instill this into my 8-year-old. And I will make sure that he knows how to express his feelings and not fucking be afraid to do that, and understand that you're not weak just because you did that. It doesn't define who you are because you expressed to me or you felt some kind of way. Because the other day he started crying about my dad, and my dad passed away 5 years ago. He just hasn't really, I think, had the time to process it. We're on our way to school, and I'm like, oh no, he's crying, dude, and we got to go into class. So I thought to myself, the old me, I think, would have said, hey, dude, suck it up. Stop crying. We got to get into class. This was, hey, dude, it's okay to cry. You want me to stop at school? I'll walk you into class. You want me to go in and talk to your teacher about how you're feeling and stuff too? And dude, I feel like that just gives him that ability and the safety to feel okay to go through his emotions and not suppress them. Because I feel like that's probably what I did to my older two kids, is had them suppress their feelings a lot when they're going through a lot of fucking shit and problems themselves. Their mom and dad ain't together no more. We're fighting. We're getting new boyfriends and girlfriends. We're putting them through this, that, you know. So I just know that now I know better. I know a lot better. And so for me, I got to do better and give that 8-year-old a better chance. And for him not to have so many mental problems going into his young adult life. Like my other two, they had a lot of shit that they probably had to go deal with going into being a young adult. And a lot of that's due to, me and their mom. And we got to own that part. So I told both my two older kids, please, if you guys will have something on your chest and you want to get that off, the door is open. Let's go through it all. Whatever's bogging you, whatever I have done to create some kind of harm or issue to you, let's go through that. Let's work through it now. because I'm alive and I know better, and let's work through it now, because if I die and we never work through it, then we go with all this unsettled business. So I want to settle it so we can go through having a healthy adult relationship with my two older kids, and then I could also be a grandpa to their kids and be a part of their lives. So I wanted to give them that freedom, that right. Hey, you guys, and if there's something that it comes up in your mind and you want to work through it, let's do it. Let's do it together, because someone else ain't going to solve you and I else's problem. We got to solve that and
Mhm.
work through each other. You can go talk to other people about it, but you and I, if we have the issue, we got to work through that, and let's go ahead and get that done. So I've given both my adult children that opportunity to, hey, I'm your pinata, let loose, because whatever I've done to you and put childhood trauma on you, go ahead, let's beat it out. Let's get it out. Let's make you healthier so you can be a healthier adult and parent to your children. Let's not keep handing this generational trauma down the fucking. Someone's got to cut it off, and someone's got to do
Mhm.
better. So I feel that I did better than my father and my mom. Now I'm hoping that my kids will do better than me and their mom. So sorry I went so long on that, but it is a weird world to be in when you have two different sets of kids and they're adults now, and then you start all over, and your place in your life is so different that there's such a majorly different outcome, and it's like sometimes they're like, "Yo, you treat him so much different. Don't you want that for him? Don't you want that for him? Remember, you guys hated if I was to this that, you know." So it's great watching them and seeing it though, and they love the fact that he gets that opportunity, and the good dad, the dad that I wish I could have been for them.
Well, and this is exactly why I wanted to bring this up, Brian, because you have this experience that Weave is about to go into. And Weave, what are your thoughts on that?
Uh, I wanted to make sure that me and my son were on good terms before I even started this, and we talked about it. And there is a little bit of jealousy, um, but he does
Mhm.
love me. He sees that he's seen me at my worst times, and I feel bad for that. And I chose to leave to go work for 3 hours for 20 freaking bucks after taxes, then have a moment or two with him, a couple hours. And that was the work ethic from the military. It's like work hard, get things done. A couple of bucks didn't matter. I wasn't there for him, not as much as I wanted to be. So when I get off, I try to go hang out with him, even though I'm dead ass tired. Go to the game shop, play Pokemon, play Magic the Gathering. I'm falling asleep in my chair, but he's still having a good time. I don't know if he remembers any of those moments, but I tried my best. Have fun while you're tired. And I just know I'm not going to make sacrifices like that when I do have somebody in this house that needs my attention. That's not going to happen for a couple of bucks.
So so
It,
what is your hope in moving forward as you are bringing this new child in? What is your hope moving forward with that?
so with a resource parent, it's going to be temporary and it's like a safe haven. It might not ever be a permanent fixture, but it might be a calm sea, you know, for a little bit for that child to reflect and think, and try to learn. And that's what I'm hoping. Anything I can give somebody is open up my home for a couple of moments of respite, no matter what they're going through. I think that helps. I mean, I'm not going to be appreciated during that time. It'll be years down the road before they go,
Mhm.
"Hey, I looked you up. Thank you very much for that." And they're a kid. They don't know. They don't deserve all this. But, I just want to give back what I can, what I've learned.
Well, I
So,
think I
Marcus, I
think
would say that you would have to be in a good spot mentally.
Hmm.
Obviously, you've gotten yourself to where you're good, because it's got to be hard to have someone come in, a kid, they're coming from some rough rough times, and this might just be a little safe spot, a little safe landing for them. But I imagine when they leave, dude, there's a part of you that's gonna always wonder, like, how are they doing? You know,
Yeah.
and you know, and you want, you know, there's a part of you that you got to be mentally ready for that, as because there's, you know, a level of attachment that always happens, and and I imagine you're gonna have to learn how to navigate those waters. Is because you know that these people are going to come in. They could be there for 3 weeks. They could be there for a year. You know, you just don't know what their timing may be. So I just know that I imagine you and your wife have had many conversations about this, and you both have to be in a place that there's an understanding and a level of, all right, we've got to be okay, because we may push one off and then have another one come right through. You know what I mean? And because you never know how the that system works, especially as you guys are just, you know, really a safe spot where they're trying to maybe figure out court stuff. You know, trying to figure out you know, stuff that has to do with custody. You know, you guys might be just kind of holding them for a little bit of time while their parents going through some therapies. You know, whatever it may be. But it's like, I imagine there's got to be a level of yourself that's got to be like, all right, we got to be careful of how we get too attached to these kids, and they might even get attached to you as well, right? And so I imagine you guys have talked about that part, and it's got to be hard. I imagine for the relationship too to do that, and it's something you guys got to completely be on board about to make it happen.
It's
So,
like
there- oh,
it's
go ahead.
like when we trained to deploy. Deployment was totally different than what we were
Right.
taught or experienced. We could be like, I'm prepared. I got this and this, but it never happens that way. So I'm so used to being in a dumpster fire and being calm about it that I think,
You're probably suit for the job, man, to be honest with you.
yeah, yeah.
So
I
there's
know
a couple
I
thoughts.
know the
Oh,
resources,
go ahead.
yeah. Oh, I know the resources to go to.
Good.
That's what
That probably
I was gonna bring that up. So a couple thoughts that went to my mind. One, Brian can be a good resource for you, just kind of like having that younger generation and going through the same emotional stuff and background as you. So I am glad that I got you guys connected, and I'd love to see you guys, kind of support each other in that. The
Absolutely.
second thing I wanted to say is I was adopted. And so I have a lot of compassion for what you are doing, and I've seen the struggles from the other side of seeing the parents. And one of the things that I just wanted to bring up is that idea that I had my, you're going to have your experience, but that child's going to have his experience or her experience, and they're not going to align up because we have our own insecurities, our own frustrations. And so being on the other side, I've had to go through a lot of my own struggles in that aspect of having compassion for what my parents were going through as they were, doing the foster care and stuff. And so I wanted to bring up, that idea of having compassion for yourself, that you will never be fully prepared to be a foster parent. You will never be fully prepared. But I was going to say, how are you? What are some of the resources available to help you to be able to recognize? You said you're using resources, so what are some of those resources, and how are you preparing for the fact that you are not going to be perfect? How are you preparing for that idea to have compassion for yourself? Because a lot of people think, I can't do foster care because I'm not perfect. I can't do foster care because I'm going through all this shit. How are you having that compassion for yourself and saying, hey, I'm going through this stuff, but I have the willingness to get help. I am not doing it on my own, and I'm going to fuck up, and that's okay. These children are going to have their experience, but I can do the best I can. So kind of what are the resources that you have, and how are you having compassion for yourself?
um so there's several different websites in the training uh that there's a giant list and other agencies. I can't really remember too much right now. I have it written down or bookmark on my phone, but they're there. And as time goes by, I'll be reading about more and more about different types of ways to react to situations. Um, I understand that I'll. It's okay if I get mad. It's just how I represent myself. Military, you're just pushed into something, and you solve a problem no matter what it is, and then you process it later. Thanks to counseling and other things and the VA, I'm able to handle all of that and introspect and look at myself a lot more and not blame myself for my my misgivings, the things I just feel bad for that other people go, yeah, you're wonderful with that, but we don't see what we're good at. That's the problem. Yeah. I think I have the patience. I think I'm good.
Well, and you have shown time and time again, and I will continue to praise you for this. You have shown time and time again that you are willing to reach out, that you are
Hmm.
willing to say I'm not okay, that you are
Mhm.
willing to access those resources, to find them, and I think that that is what is going to be amazing. We've talked about this before. Resiliency is not the ability to be strong all the time. Resiliency is that ability to say I'm not okay, I'm going to reach out for help so that I will keep going. That is resiliency. It's reaching out when you're struggling. And I think that this is going to be so beautiful as you are doing this, because I see the work that you're doing to improve yourself consistently. You're not perfect, none of us are perfect. You are still struggling just like the rest of us, and you are consistently reaching out. And so if I have to sum up your journey, from my own personal witness, from what we experienced in the military, knowing what you went through before, and all the way till now, if I had to sum it up, is willingness to improve. That is what all of this has been. It's willingness to have that resiliency and continue improving and continue reaching out and not giving up and not beating yourself up too much. You beat yourself up, we all do that, we slap ourselves a little bit, but you have consistently throughout your entire journey been willing to improve and reach out for help. And I am so honored that I've been able to witness this in your life, and that you have allowed me into it. And now you are allowing Bryan into it, and you are allowing the world to see a little bit about yourself. And you're saying, this is me, hear me roar, here's the struggles, here's the strengths, and I think that it's just beautiful. And I am just so honored and grateful that you have been my battle buddy for so many years. And I look forward to seeing, what you're going to accomplish in the future. And, like a lot of people think like, oh, if I don't have these wins, then life is going to it doesn't matter. But you are consistently showing these small wins, and it's just so beautiful. And I'm so grateful that you are here with us today.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you.
you.
I appreciate you, Marcus, coming on and taking the time, bro, to talk about all this stuff. It's not always easy, man, but we have discovered it's important to heal out loud and to be okay. It's okay not to be okay, and what is not okay is to give up. And I think that that's what we all are inspiring to do, and show that along the way you may fail many, many times, but that's not going to define your ending, right? I mean, failing is just part of the process
It's a
to find
never-ending
success.
ruck march.
That's right.
Mhm.
And I always look at life as trying to climb a huge mountain, man. There's times you're going to find an easy path. There's times you're going to find really hard paths, and you're going to slip and fall down. But the matter is you just keep pushing, and you want to get to the top of that mountain. And you've been doing that, brother. And so, with that being said, is there anything else that you would like to say before we head out, bro? Any last things that maybe you didn't get to share with us that you would like to share with us before we head out?
There's so many things I probably could complain about or give, but I think I'm good. I do feel a lot better. Like you talked to me earlier before we started. It really does help.
Yeah,
It's really
it's amazing
yeah.
what it does to you to actually be able to talk, bro. You know, and you know, there's a lot of doors that we keep closed until there's someone there that has the key or has the ability to lead you to that door and have you open it up. You know, and that's the great thing about us talking to each other. And I think America needs to learn how to fucking talk to each other. Right? We quickly don't like each other or blame each other for this or that and the other, but you have a conversation, man. It really enlightens things and open things up. I am always in awe of how many times I have guests come on and it just there's a light that bulb where something dings for me.
Oh,
It happened to me today with you. And something really resonated with me and stuff. So that's the great part about this, and the great part about it, sharing your experiences and talking about it, is because it just brings things and it makes us put into perspective. We don't know who's listening to this, and they're gonna be like, "Gosh, damn, bro, wow, that was crazy. That related to me so much." You know, so I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate what you're doing. I appreciate what you continue to doing, and you always have a place here, dude. If you come and talk to us about your experience with how being an adoptive parent is and how that going and your experiences and where you're at. We would love to, next season we'll bring you on. We'll get an update and see where you're at and see what amazing things you're up to, because I really do see some great things out of you, bro. And you have a huge light to yourself. You just got to let her shine, you know what I mean? And we're here cheerleading you all the way, brother. And we want to hear about your successes. So thank you once again, Marcus, for coming on and taking the time.
all right.
Thank you.
All right, friends and fam. Wow. These are always amazing. I love Marie's been just bringing on some amazing guests. And I'm just always taken back by every guest we have and hearing their stories, hearing their resilience, hearing their failures, hearing their successes. It literally gives me goosebumps because nothing more in this world would enlighten me is for everybody to find their fucking happiness and live in the light, no matter where you are. And if your happiness doesn't look like mine, I don't care. Just be happy, you know? So, thank you again, Marie, for bringing on our guest. Thank you for, just being a part of the show as well. And this is a great journey for everybody. I hope that people out there with you listening, you're able to maybe feel a little bit more comfortable in your own skin and don't be ashamed to heal. And however that healing looks, it may not look like someone else's, but everybody's journey is not going to look the same.
Well, and then I just wanted to do a quick shout out. We talked a lot about my book, my poetry, my community that I just got started. But also, if you guys get a chance, check out Brian's other podcast that he has going on, Sick Call with Doc and Divisive Measures. Please go and check them out.
Thank you, Marie. And once again, this is our second to the last show. So the next one you guys watch that will be the season ending one. We'll see what we can kind of come up with to end it with a bang. But thank you guys so much for, like I said, sticking it out with us. If you haven't had the opportunity to check out all the other interviews, great time to go back and reflect. There's a ton of stuff out there. Each season we go from January 9th all the way to Veterans Day. So there's a lot of material that's in there for you guys to go watch. And just continue to like and share. It doesn't cost a thing. And keep doing amazing things. And you know how we say on the show, don't let the day kick your ass. Make sure you're out there kicking in. Until next time, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe.